The lore drops immediately with these spirit stones that are basically the server admins of the universe. One is for destruction, and the other is for healing, but humanity has been fighting over them forever. It was total chaos until Ieyasu Tokugawa finally put a stop to the war and brought some peace to the timeline. We meet Takechiyo and Kunimatsu, who are giving major sibling rivalry energy. They are getting ready for a sparring match to decide who gets to be the next shogun. Takechiyo seems more into art than fighting, but Kunimatsu is sweating so hard to prove he is the alpha, treating this like a ranked competitive match. They hit the dojo where Munenori is waiting to act as their personal trainer. He tells them to pick their weapons, kind of like choosing your loadout before a raid. Kunimatsu is being super aggressive, clearly trying to flex on his brother to secure that shogun title, while everyone else is just watching the tension rise. The vibe shifts drastically when the castle gets raided by demons called Ayakashi. It is absolute nightmare fuel, and the guards are panicking because the situation went from 0 to 100 real quick. The brothers have to escape through a secret underground passage, turning their political drama into a full-on survival horror dungeon run. The group splits up because that is always a great idea in horror movies. Munenori stays behind to hold off the monsters, giving huge main character sacrifice energy. Takechiyo is told to run, but he is clearly stressed about leaving his mentor behind while the castle literally crumbles around them and the enemies close in. The situation gets messy when Kunimatsu decides to stay behind too, claiming he can handle the demons on his own. Takechiyo tries to argue, but they end up separated. It feels like a scripted event where the party gets split so they can have their own character development arcs in different zones of the map. Kunimatsu finally drops the nice brother act and reveals his true colors. He is absolutely obsessed with becoming shogun and is willing to let everyone else perish to get it. He is entering his villain era hard, basically saying he would rather burn the server down than let his brother be the admin. Takechiyo finds a magic mirror that reacts to his presence, transporting him to a weird dimension that looks like a glitch in the simulation. He realizes he can communicate with spirits, which is a neat power-up, but he is completely lost in the timeline and needs to figure out what is happening before he gets wrecked. Takechiyo wakes up in the middle of a battlefield and realizes he time-traveled to the Sengoku period. He sees the Takeda and Tokugawa clans fighting, which shouldn't be happening if history was normal. It is like he loaded into a modded version of the game, where the timeline is completely broken and chaotic. He bumps into his grandfather, Ieyasu, who is looking much younger and actively fighting on the front lines. They have to team up against Shingen Takeda, who is basically the raid boss of this era. Takechiyo has to hide his identity while helping his grandpa survive this absolute chaotic mess of a battle. They arrive near Hamamatsu Castle, but it is covered in a dark, corrupt energy. The soldiers call it Hell, which is valid because it looks like a cursed biome. Takechiyo realizes that the spirit stones are messing with reality here too, creating a dark zone that eats people's souls and spawns endless enemies. Takechiyo's sword starts talking to him, which is peak anime protagonist behavior. The spirit explains that they are destined to fight the darkness caused by the corrupted spirit stones. It is a lore dump moment that confirms Takechiyo is the chosen one, meant to fix the timeline's spaghetti code and save the world. Hi there. If you want to enjoy more gaming lore without grinding for 60 hours, hit that subscribe button. I do the grinding so you don't have to. Your support really helps the channel. Back at base, Ieyasu and his generals are stressed because Shingen is wrecking them with supernatural help. They realize they are fighting a losing battle unless they do something drastic. Takechiyo gets drafted into the war effort, essentially becoming the MVP carry for the Tokugawa team in this distorted version of history. The news comes in that another castle is under attack, and they are spreading their forces too thin. Takechiyo is sent to help, acting as the rapid response unit. He has to run across the map to save an ally, proving he is more than just a sheltered rich kid from the future. It turns out Shingen baited them into a trap because he is a tactical genius. The Tokugawa forces get ambushed, and it looks like a total party wipe is imminent. Takechiyo has to step up and hold the line, fighting through waves of enemies to protect the retreat and keep Ieyasu alive. Takechiyo finally confronts Shingen, who is powered up by the Dark Stone. The guy is practically invincible and hitting like a truck. It is a grueling boss fight where Takechiyo has to use his new powers to chip away at Shingen's health bar while dodging massive area of effect attacks that destroy the terrain. After surviving the ambush, the Tokugawa army rallies for one last push. They decide to raid Shingen's camp on the cliff. It is a high-risk play, but they have no other choice if they want to stop the Red Army from steamrolling the entire map and ending the game early. Shingen realizes he pushed his body too far using the dark power. He gives a final speech about his ambitions before collapsing, dying standing up like an absolute legend. The enemy army retreats, and the immediate threat is gone, but the dark energy lingers, implying the real problem isn't solved yet. With the Sengoku era somewhat stabilized, the magic mirror activates again. Takechiyo has to say goodbye to his grandpa and jump to the next time period. He is basically server hopping to different eras to clean up the corruption that his evil brother is spreading throughout history to ruin everything. He lands in the Kamakura period and meets Minamoto no Yoritomo. The vibe here is even worse, with demons running rampant in the capital. Yoritomo seems helpful at first, but there is something suspicious about him, giving off major gaslighting energy that suggests he might be corrupted by the darkness too. The capital is a disaster zone. The magical barriers protecting the city are down, and monsters are spawning everywhere. Takechiyo teams up with Yoshitsune and Shizuka Gozen to reboot the spiritual defenses. It is a classic fetch quest where they have to visit different shrines to purify the corruption and restore order. While trying to fix the barriers, they get ambushed again. It becomes clear that Yoritomo is actually the one pulling the strings behind the chaos. He is using the monsters to consolidate power, basically trying to establish a dictatorship by creating a crisis only he can solve, which is super toxic. Yoshitsune confronts Yoritomo about his tyranny. It is a tragic sibling conflict that mirrors Takechiyo's own situation with Kunimatsu. Yoritomo has gone full tyrant, claiming that peace requires absolute control, while Yoshitsune just wants everyone to chill. The drama is real, and it is heading toward a violent conclusion. Takechiyo and Yoshitsune fight Yoritomo, who transforms into a monster. They manage to defeat him, snapping him out of the corruption. Yoritomo realizes he messed up big time, admitting that his obsession with power turned him into the very thing he was trying to destroy, serving as a cautionary tale. The mirror sends Takechiyo way back to ancient Japan. He meets Queen Himiko, who is dealing with the original Spirit Stone drama. This is the origin story level where we find out how this whole mess started with a jealous brother named Hiruko, who wanted the throne and ruined everything. Hiruko is the prototype for all the villains we have seen so far. He is furious about being passed over for the crown and uses the Dark Stone to try and delete the kingdom. Takechiyo has to help Himiko seal him away, realizing this cycle of sibling jealousy has been repeating for centuries. Takechiyo returns to his own timeline, right back at the Edo Castle attack. He now knows everything and is fully powered up. It is New Game Plus mode where he runs through the initial level again, but this time he is ready to face the real final boss and stop the loop. He catches up to Kunimatsu, who is completely lost in the sauce of the Dark Stone. Kunimatsu starts ranting about how he deserves to be Shogun, sounding incredibly insecure. Takechiyo tries to talk him down, but his brother is too far gone, completely consumed by his inferiority complex and dark magic. Just when you thought it was over, the timeline glitches again, sending them to the Bakumatsu Era. Takechiyo meets the Shinsengumi and Ryoma Sakamoto. The world is ending, with Kyoto burning down. It is the final chaotic crossover where all historical factions are fighting in a literal hellscape for survival. The fighting here is intense because everyone has guns and cannons now. Takechiyo teams up with the rebels and the shogunate loyalists who have put aside their differences. They realize the world is about to crash if they don't stop the source of the corruption immediately, so they form a super squad. They gather at Honnoji Temple, which is on fire as usual. The corruption is trying to burn the entire timeline history. Takechiyo's allies sacrifice themselves to clear the path, giving him the chance to reach the core of the distortion. It is super emotional, and the stakes have never been higher. The last shogun, Yoshinobu, realizes the shogunate has to end for the future to survive. He helps Takechiyo, proving that leadership is about knowing when to let go. It is a powerful moment of accepting change rather than clinging to power like the villains have been doing throughout the whole story. Takechiyo unlocks the true power of the Lightstone. He realizes that being shogun isn't about domination, but about balance. He gets a massive power boost, transforming into his ultimate form to fight the darkness that has possessed his brother and threatened history. He is finally ready to end this. The final battle against the corrupted entity is insane. Takechiyo smashes through the darkness, rejecting the toxic mindset of power at all costs. He defeats the evil force, purifying his brother and finally putting an end to the curse that has plagued their bloodline for generations. It is pure victory. With the darkness gone, Kunimatsu wakes up and realizes what he did. He apologizes, admitting he was just jealous and insecure. Takechiyo forgives him because family is complicated, but he also asserts his dominance as the rightful leader who earned his spot through hardship rather than just being given it. Takechiyo officially becomes Tokugawa Iemitsu. He sits on the throne, not as a sheltered prince, but as a veteran of time travel wars. He declares his rule, ready to lead the country into a peaceful era, finally closing the book on this massive, chaotic adventure with a satisfying conclusion. Gaming lore is long and confusing, but I break it down every week. Subscribe so you never miss a plot twist or hidden detail. Thanks for watching.